Hello, everyone.
You should be muted.
Hi.
Well, go ahead, touch it.
Hey,
Hello.
okay, I want to make sure you all have your cameras on because then we can see you. And keep yourself muted, and they can unmute you when it's time. Or you can unmute yourself when we tell you to. Okay. So, hi, I'm Mary Cooley. I'm a 1987 grad of The Ohio State University, Bachelor of Science in Industrial Systems Engineering, and I'm president of the Oklahoma Club. I want to thank all of you, and that includes students, parents of students, grandparents of students, and the rest of us out here in Oklahoma, and those folks at the Ohio State Alumni Association. So they have enabled us, and I really want to thank the Alumni Association for enabling us in this meeting, all the help they've given us, and also enabling the club as a whole. Okay, and here's the agenda for tonight. We're going to go over just a little bit on the club background, where we come from, and then we're going to hear from each of the students. And right now I think we have 2 students on, a current student and an inbound freshman. And then we've got wisdom through the years, and I've got most of these decades covered by the folks that are on here. But if we miss, you know, a decade, I'm sure it was a good decade. Those folks are probably out partying somewhere. So, all right. And then just a closing. So it's not going to take long. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and start with the club background. All right, this club, we were out here in Oklahoma doing game watches, and we had kind of an official club because Ohio State knew where our game watches were, but we weren't really formally formed. The club was formed in July of 2016, formally chartered under OSUAA, and that's Ohio State Alumni Association. And with that, we formed a president, vice president, secretary, treasurer, scholarship chair, game day planner, members at large. So our board is about 8 to 10 people. It varies. But all those folks are dedicated and working hard to make this Oklahoma Club happen. We do have a charter, and we have bylaws for our club, and that is all on the OSUAA website for Oklahoma Club. And you can just Google Oklahoma Ohio State Club, and you're going to get our website. And that's where our charter and bylaws are, plus other activities we've had and ones we have planned. Okay, our club has achieved Scarlet. There's multiple levels of clubs you can get for Ohio State. Scarlet is the highest level. We achieved Scarlet all 4 years, and that takes having game day watches, but a minimum of 2 board meetings, 5 category 1 type events, and scholarship fundraisers. So those are the activities you got to do. You do less than that, you're not a Scarlet Club. We do have club dues. It's $25, but that $25 is tax deductible, and it goes directly, we don't touch it, it goes directly into the scholarship fundraisers, 100% towards our scholarships. We've awarded 1 scholarship in 18, so when we chartered the club in 16, it took us 2 years, but we got our first scholarship out in 18. We had 2 scholarships in 19, and 2 scholarships again in 20 this year. So from that, we have had the type of activities. Game watches, we have them at Henry Hudson's Public House in OKC. Eventually, we'd like to maybe get something up in Tulsa, but we'd have to have people plan that. We've done lifelong learning events. We've done wine bottling. We made our own personal Ohio State labels. And we had a brewery tour this last year when things were wide open and we could do that. Community service, we've done volunteering at OKC Regional Food Bank. Every year we've done something different for the food bank, but every year we've had a great group come out, and it just feels really good to volunteer at the food bank. Lots of good work gets done there. For art events, we've done paint and pour, where we all went in and the artist taught us how to paint something. everybody's looked pretty good except Paul's. I think his is okay. He had it turned around, so we don't know. We did an OKC Museum of Art tour, and we've done a glass blowing event where we all got to make our own glass ornaments. So that was really fun, and learn how to do that. That was kind of neat. For student engagement, this type of event is student engagement, but Buckeye Serve comes to Oklahoma, 2 of them. One goes out to the east side of it, and Arkansas takes care of that, the Arkansas Club. And then we get one in Norman, and Buckeye Serve does a project with Habitat for Humanitarian Service. So those students come out, and they've been a great group of students, very different every year. But we go and have dinner with them and talk with them about, you know, what kinds of things they're doing and what kinds of things we're doing as alumni. We've done special interest events, Buckeyes at OKC Dodgers games, and other special events can be planned, but, you know, as long as I'm planning that one, I go to the Dodger games. And then networking events, Young Buckeyes, Buckeyes After Work, and we did a Top Golf networking event. So we're always looking for new ideas and future activities. This year in the fall, we plan to do the OKC Memorial Marathon, if indeed that marathon does happen. Maybe we can volunteer at the Tulsa Regional Food Bank as well as the one in OKC. We had planned an art event at Art Fusion Studios for a fused glass party. We still hope to have that in the future. And other categories we haven't done, but we could explore health and wellness and diversity. So that is the beauty of these alumni clubs out there. They're not just for watching football. There's lots of fun things, and if one thing doesn't interest you, maybe something else does. So if there is stuff that you'd like to do that we're not doing, give us a holler, and we'll try and plan that type of event. We want to make sure we're servicing and doing stuff for the alumni out here, and doing stuff on behalf of the university. So that's all I have about the club. We're here, and we're wanting to wish the students well. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to hear from current students. And Elijah, are you on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry. Sorry, that's my dog. Can everybody hear me? So I'm Elijah. I'm a second year. I'm going to be a second year this year, English major with a concentration in creative writing. I'm from Norman, Oklahoma, and I don't know what else to say. I'm a moral scholar, and so I've done a lot of event participation with them this year, and they really helped me get like involved and like really love campus. I don't know what else to say though.
You're a kid born and raised in Oklahoma. You don't have any Buckeyes in your background except a brother who's a rabid fan.
Yeah.
but you went to Ohio State all the way from Oklahoma by yourself with no family out there. We got another freshman going next year. I mean, her family's here, just like yours. So what's it feel like to be a freshman out there in the sea of 60,000 Ohio State students that aren't from Oklahoma?
It's a little overwhelming because there's like no one to like relate to whenever it comes to like Oklahoma things, but it's kind of fun to see how like people react, because I've gotten nearly like 30 times like, I didn't even know people lived in Oklahoma, and I'm like, yes. There are lots of people there, or like asking like what's like in Oklahoma, or different like questions like that, of people being just like totally amazed. But it was fun like finding the few other people that do go to school there, so that's why it's fun to like be here and see and like an incoming freshman, because I got to meet online like through Instagram 2 other people that were from Oklahoma. So it was cute to just kind of see that like there's at least 1 or 2 other people out there that just kind of like know what tornado season is like as intensely as it is here.
Mhm. Thanks. That's perfect. And Rachel Webb up in the corner is your other student. So I have her chime in a minute. So what happened in March when did you come home for spring break or were you still up there?
I actually went to Chicago on a moral scholars trip.
Okay, so then you had to go back to Columbus and get your stuff and come home.
Yeah, since we were already going to go back to Columbus, it was a little easier than some other people like booking flights like there and back. So I had to be there for about 3 or 4 days until my parents came to pick me up. But it was so like weird and creepy because it was basically like a ghost town until like the day where a bunch of people are moving out and I was seeing all of my friends on my floor leave. It was really sad too. I definitely cried a lot. But yeah, it was a really weird experience.
Yeah, and everybody knows where they were when the Thunder came up positive with the team in
Yeah. Mhm.
Orlando. I'm sorry, the Utah. Yeah, the Utah
Yeah.
team came up positive. That's when the world changed. So from that standpoint, thank you. And if Rachel has other questions for Elijah, but meanwhile, Rachel, you're going to be heading out to Ohio State. So how excited are you?
I'm really, really excited. This has been my dream school since I was a sixth grader. Yeah, so I was a sixth grader. So I'm really excited. Hi, Najaja. How do you say your name? How do you pronounce your name?
Elijah.
Elijah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's a beautiful name.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
You too.
Well, if you guys like, I can put you in contact. Meanwhile, I mean, that's up to, it's hard to find each other, but I can do that if you want. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So there are 7 or 8 students from Ohio State up there. And just a fun fact, Josh Proctor, one kid on the football team from Oklahoma, he's the only kid ever from Oklahoma, ever recruited by Ohio State and given a scholarship. Wow, the first. The one and only. I mean, fun fact for Oklahoma. Okay. Anyway, hey, Rachel, you're getting ready to go up there. And what are you going to major in?
I'm majoring in microbiology with the hopes to use my degree to get into veterinary school. So.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'm a part of the E&I Scholars program up at Ohio. So, and I'm also planning on trying out for the marching band up there. So.
Yeah, T-Biddle is the best, right?
Yes.
So, and Elijah had football tickets last year, so she got to go to the games. Wow, we all hope that happens sometime again this year, but meanwhile, she got to go to the game, so got that full experience and really got immersed into being a Buckeye right off the bat. So, hey guys, for you two, I wanted to talk we have alumni in our club out here in Oklahoma, ranging from the 1960s. We could have other alumni that I don't know about from the 50s, but we have them from the 60s through the 2010. I don't know what you call those, the 10s. I mean, I guess back in the day, it was the 10, the roaring 20s. So we got the 10s, and we're just now in the 20s. We don't have any 20 grads yet. Nobody's out yet from there. So meanwhile, Nancy and Tim, would you go ahead and tell us first? Oh, let's see, Nancy, you are. Yep, you're the first. Yeah, Nancy,
Am I first?
you're first because you graduated first of all of us.
Yeah, I did. Actually, I graduated a little bit ahead of Tim. Of course, when we were going to Ohio State, it was on the quarter system. So it was a little bit different then. And I really just kind of went the way it just, in my personal life, the way it worked, I just kept going quarter to quarter to quarter because you could do that. And, and you just kind of want me to share how I got there or what?
Well, Nancy,
Mary,
you came from
I
out of
don't know.
state to go to Ohio State, so maybe that's another thing you could
Yeah,
talk
I
about.
did. Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, I did. And honestly, I have to tell you all honest, I didn't really know anything about the Ohio State University. It was really my aunt and uncle. Circumstances in my family, my personal family at the time. I had lost my eldest brother very suddenly. And so my family, my mom and dad and all, they just weren't in a position. I was the youngest and the only girl, and they really weren't in a position of knowing what I should do after high school. And really truthfully, by the middle of my senior year, I had an aunt and uncle in Connecticut, and I had an aunt and uncle in Columbus. My uncle worked at Battelle Institute on King Avenue anyway, and they just were so concerned about me going to college. And so my Aunt Carol and Uncle Bill proposed that I come out to Columbus, and they would take me on a tour that summer, and I would, if I liked it, I would apply and they would help me. So that's exactly how I got there and what happened. And as I said, I think when I got there, I grew up in a very small community and my high school was extremely small. So I went from a class of 54 graduates from high school to this mammoth place, which I can say is more mammoth than it was when I got there. But
Oh, it's only 57,000.
Anyway, and so and as I said, when I got there, I think my wings were starting to develop, but I believe at Ohio State is where I learned to fly.
Awesome. Tim, you had different circumstances, but you went to Ohio State to meet Nancy, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's the way that I like to tell the story. It keeps me in good graces, you know. No, I grew up in Cincinnati, and I went to high school, of course, down there. And I wanted to get about as far away as I could from most of my high school friends. Very few wanted to go to Ohio State. They all went to the Compass, what we call the Compass schools in Ohio. Ohio U, Kent State, those.
There's lots in Miami. Yeah, all of them.
Right.
There's
Yeah,
a lot of good schools in Ohio.
definitely. Miami's super school. Anyway, I was very happy about going to Ohio State. Didn't know what to expect, but I enjoyed it because while at Ohio State, I experienced everything. I lived in a dorm for a year and a half. I lived in a fraternity house for a year and a half. I lived with 4 or 3 other guys in an apartment for a year. Then I got married and I lived with my wife for a year. So I've done it all at Ohio State, man. You know?
You got commissioned when you graduated too, right?
I did. I literally learned to fly at Ohio State because I got my private pilot's license via the ROTC program while I was there. And of course, when I graduated, I was not in a cap and gown. I was in a uniform. And so I took the oath, and 1 month later, I was in pilot training with the Air Force. So that's where it kind of led me. And I got my master's degree in the Air Force at the Air Force Institute of Technology, which is in Dayton. Many of the people who taught at the school were Ohio State professors as well, which was kind of neat. There's a pretty close relationship between those 2 institutions.
That's nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to this other school
In Oklahoma?
that has, yes, it's a nearby down
My daughter went there. I know
where
where it is.
Stephanie and Sean are in Norman, and
Steph and Sean, yeah, know where that
my
is too.
PhD there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, Paul, Lynn, you're of the 70s generation. So what was it like going to Ohio State in the 70s? We gotta unmute you.
Unmute you. Unmute.
We didn't know how to do it. I'm actually a native Okie, grew up in Bartlesville, but attended high school in Worthington. And upon graduation, to me, it was just natural to apply to Ohio State. And it met my wife there, so it was great for me. But there's one important thing you students need to focus on. It's 3167.
Okay.
That's the number of days since Michigan beat Ohio State.
Oh, okay.
We have to keep Harbaugh employed at
Okay.
Michigan.
Okay. Okay. We have to
I
keep
can't believe you
like
said that.
him, just like we like referees that go our way too, right?
Yes, yes.
Right. And pitchers who throw meatballs to our players that hit home runs, right?
Exactly.
I can't believe it.
Okay.
Oh, it's my turn?
Your
Okay.
turn.
Now, Lynn.
I actually did not go initially to the main campus. I actually was accepted and went to the Lima campus, the Lima branch of Ohio State for 2 years. And from
Awesome.
there, because I was in another program where I was on the job training. So I was learning in my job and I was also putting myself through college. And my junior year, I went to Columbus and I'm an allied technology was my area of interest. And really, I mean, I liked it, but I didn't have a lot of social life because of the fact that I had to work really hard because I'm not the best student, but then I was also working nights. I worked from 3 to 11 at Riverside Hospital. And then I would go to school in the morning. And somewhere in there, I met Paul and made time for him too. But no, it was very hard. It was absolutely well worth it. Absolutely well worth it.
Did you
Awesome.
meet Paul at the bistro?
Actually,
The library.
Yeah, right.
Library.
No, if you really want to know, he was evicted from his apartment and he came to our apartment, my girlfriend's, and he said, "Can we store some of our furniture in your apartment? Because my roommate wrote a hot check, so we've got to get out of this apartment."
Oh my God. Oh my
So
God.
there you go.
I mean, God had a plan for him, right?
Yeah.
And then
Well,
My gosh. Oh,
Yeah, the library. That was the best bar on campus, wasn't it?
absolutely,
was.
it was. I
He
still
still
have
has the t-shirt.
Yes, I do. I still have a t-shirt. Yes, I do.
we're gonna roll into the 80s. And I know the 70s was quite a time at Ohio State.
It was.
But I'm amongst the 80s, me and my husband, but so is Sandy Snelling. Sandy, do you want to take your mute off? How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there.
Okay, so Sandy, why did you go to Ohio State? Maybe because of engineering?
Well, that and my dad was in the military, so I lived everywhere, but he was always an Ohio State fan, no matter where we lived. And so when he ended up at Wright Pat in Dayton for his last tour of duty before he retired, so that put me into Ohio. So it was pretty much, I don't think I even considered any other schools. So,
Right, that's awesome.
so I got my engineering degree there in aeronautical, astronautical engineering, and I went into the military myself and did 20 years
Mm-hmm.
and ended up here at Tinker.
Why we're all, those of us military are here in Oklahoma, right? Tim, right? Sandy, right? Me? So, okay. That's awesome. And then Steph and Sean, you have a little bit of a different story. Steph, you're not from Ohio. So let's see, how did you get from New York down to Ohio State?
I grew up in New Jersey, actually. I was
Oh,
born,
I'm sorry, New Jersey. Jack is from New York. That's my husband. Sorry about that.
I was born in New York City, but I grew up
I
in
know it's not the same.
and I knew I wanted to go away to school. I knew I wanted a big school. And I actually really don't have a good reason of how I got there other than a friend suggested it. It was the first acceptance I received back, and I drove out there and said, all right, I guess this will be home for the next 4 years. And I think it was Nancy who said she didn't have much of a background knowing much about Ohio State. I have to admit, I thought a Buckeye was maybe like a big deer with big antlers or something before I moved out there. So I've learned a lot. I met Sean actually during orientation assistance that we both helped move in other freshmen. And I actually met him before I met my roommates. And
Nice.
so, yep. So I graduated from Ohio State, and then Elijah, we actually live in Norman. And so bring a little bit of home to you when you're up there. And then I got my master's at that school in Norman. And then I'll hand it over to Sean.
I met Steph using my roommate used a fake check. Can I store stuff in her? That's the oldest line in the book.
Ah, yeah.
So I had 3 older brothers all go to Ohio State in engineering, so I was destined to do the same thing. One unique experience is the stadium used to have a dormitory in it. It was a scholarship dorm, and I lived in 3 of my brothers all lived in the stadium dorms. So from basically 1977 to 1986, there's only like 1 or 2 years that there wasn't a McGinnis living in the Ohio Stadium. Since then, I think a few of us have spent the night in the stadium unofficially, but that's a whole other story. I just say I'm jealous for you guys going back to Columbus. I hope all the changes, you can still find a little bit of fun and true college experience there. I'm sure you will. And best of luck to you. I'm excited for you. I will also make sure your families know to get on our mailing list, because all the events that she talked about, your family is welcome to join us too. It's anyone really.
Absolutely. Yeah, because our club is alumni, friends, and anybody who likes the Buckeyes.
And if we can get back in touch and together, we'll be watching football games together in Bricktown. So anyone who wants to join us,
right.
Possible.
I might actually be in the stadium. I'm still hopeful.
We don't know who it is, but Elijah, we saw at graduation this year at Norman North. There's a boy going to Ohio State from Norman North also. I don't know if you know who that is.
And we don't know his name. I'm trying to find out.
Elijah will find him.
Yeah.
So, okay, well, so something happened to our 90s and 2000. They didn't make it in here. And I know Helen was of our 2000s, and she had something come up tonight. Samantha, you are crossing the millennial, and in the 2010s, like almost 20s.
The skin of my teeth, yeah.
Very, very recent grad. So those of us that went to Ohio State, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, 2010s, and across even the 150 years of Ohio State, the changes that have happened, and time and change will surely show. And that's the thing. So Samantha, what's it like going to Ohio State in the 2010s?
Probably the same as it's going to be next year, but I am originally from Atlanta, and then I went to Ohio State. I also don't have a fantastic reason for going except for to try something new, get out of my comfort zone. I was a sport industry major, also a moral scholar, and I was also in Dunn Sport and Wellness Scholar, so I understand kind of the honors and scholars thing. If you have any questions or want to connect, but enjoyed my time. Yeah, I had a great 4 years, did a lot of things. I guess my advice is to get involved. Columbus is a great town. There's a lot of different service opportunities to really connect. I like working at elementary schools and rec centers. So that was fun, different research opportunities. There's just so much to do, and you're not going to be able to do all of it. So my advice is to choose 3 or 4 things that you really like and just really stick with that.
That's awesome. And Samantha, you're not from Oklahoma, and you got out here as soon as you graduated. You found us. So what got you to Oklahoma?
So I work for the athletic department at the school in Norman. So that's how I moved over to Oklahoma. Honestly, Elijah said about Ohio, people don't know that Oklahoma really exists. I was from Georgia, and then kind of had that same experience where people were like, oh, Georgia, interesting. And then I was like, oh, Oklahoma, interesting. I guess I'll move. So I did. So I definitely understand that kind of in reverse, trying out someplace new.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to see if I can hear from Rachel's parents about her going off to college and leaving them here in Oklahoma.
So we've raised Rachel pretty much in the Buckeye tradition, with Mimi and Papa being alumni. She's pretty much been groomed to cheer for the Buckeyes since the day she was born. We've been at Mimi and Papa's house for many games, and I've really just enjoyed raising her as a Buckeye. It's kind of funny, but before Ohio State played OU, I don't remember what year that was down here, but when she was 4 and David was barely 1, I had this picture made at JCPenney's. And if you can see, Rachel's wearing her Buckeye jersey and David's wearing his Sooner jersey.
Yes, that foretells the future.
So it kind of just lays the groundwork for her to go to Ohio State. And honestly, her junior year, she started doing a lot of research as to when she knew she wanted to study veterinary medicine. She started doing the research and finding out what colleges were really good for veterinary medicine, and she found out that Ohio State was one of the top.
It was top 5.
Top five. So, you know, I was like, well, then let's apply. You know,
Ohio State has T-Biddle.
yeah.
So,
Roger, is
hey,
there
Roger, was there anything you wanted to add?
No, I don't really have a whole lot to add. I will say that, and we looked at a couple of schools in Oklahoma, and Oklahoma State has a fairly decent veterinary program for around here. So we visited there, we visited OU, and nothing really felt right for her until she went to Ohio State. So when she came back from Ohio State, it's like, this is where I want to go. And so the rest is history.
That's awesome. So, you know, it didn't take long. We're through our agenda, but the important thing is we want to wish the 2 students that joined us tonight and the rest of the students from Oklahoma that are heading to Ohio State this fall the best of luck and have a wonderful year and enjoy it, because my gosh, it goes fast. And I'm telling you, I graduated in '87 and it seems like yesterday. It does. So, and Ohio State is with you wherever you go when you graduate, right, Samantha? When you land in Oklahoma?
Yes, absolutely. I was so excited to find an alumni club. So it is everywhere. I think they say we're the fastest growing alumni base in the country. That's on all the brochures, and it's really true that there's Buckeyes everywhere.
And the idea is like, Elijah, when you graduate and you go somewhere out of Oklahoma, being from Oklahoma, because that's how the world works, you'll be able to find a club wherever you go. Rachel, you know, if you go to vet school there or you go to vet school somewhere else, you're still always a Buckeye. Okay. All right. Hey, I'm done at this point. I don't have anything else. Does anybody have any closing remarks? Anybody want anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to say something if I can. I just want to say that when we went with Rachel up last year to actually look at Ohio State, and we haven't been back on campus, I think, for 8 years or 10 years, and just amazed how it has changed. But one of the things though, and I guess maybe this is coming from, you know, being older, maybe, I don't know, in our age, but what I really was impressed with, several things, but one thing is how many of the traditions that were there when we've been there, with the Oval, Mirror Lake, just so many that were there that are the same. So they've done a lot of new things. They've added a lot of today, you know, and what's happening in our world today and all. But they've found a way at Ohio State to embrace the new, but to hang on to the old. And that's not done very well in many places. And that really impressed us. That, and then, and also what's impressed us too, since the time she called up so excited when she got that big envelope that has the big seal on it in the mailbox saying, and with the letter saying she was accepted. The joy that we saw in her. But in the aftermath, and I think I know probably the other students have experienced this, how they followed up with her. They have stayed with Rachel this whole summer. I mean, they've been in contact with her, and she knows now. She knows her roommate, and and they're in contact. And I mean, but advisor, she knows her student advisor, and they've been emailing and together. So I've been very impressed by the way Ohio State people there have really been in contact with her and really show that they care. I mean, I'm expecting that to continue for her, but I'm excited for her because of the welcoming she's already felt. So I'm a proud Buckeye, but I'm really a proud Buckeye.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to pop in for a second. My name is Maggie Sweeney, and I actually work at the Alumni Association, and I have the honor of working with our alums, what we consider all in the West, but I get to work with our alums with you in Oklahoma. And unfortunately, I have never been to Oklahoma, and I'm very sad, well, for many reasons, that we're in the situation we're in today. But one of them was I was going to be able to come visit Oklahoma and actually go to the food bank with all of you back in April. And well, yeah, next year, maybe. We'll see. We'll see how everything goes. But my job is to work with our alumni, and a couple people have mentioned that Buckeyes are everywhere. And in my role today, I was talking with people from India and from China, and then also from LA, and right before this, Phoenix. So you really will be connected everywhere. And another thing I wanted to say was, I used to work in student life. I used to work in housing on campus. And so was very involved with different student activities and working with students. So Samantha and Elijah gave some excellent, excellent advice about finding your place and getting involved and finding a few things and really putting your time into those things, because that can build some really incredible, long-lasting relationships. I graduated in the 2000s, at the end of the 2000s, and I was talking to my roommate, and she wasn't necessarily my roommate, but she practically lived with us, talking to them a couple hours ago. So it's something that continues, it's something that goes on, and just wanted to say thanks everybody for staying connected to your alma mater, to the place that you love, and congratulations to the students, and good luck. It's going to be a weird experience, but it's going to be a great one, and we're excited to have you back here in Columbus. I haven't really been to campus much lately, but Columbus is kind of quiet right now, so we'd love to have you come back.
Okay, Jack, do you have anything to say? You're the only one who hasn't said anything. You came down from New York to go to Ohio State, so tell a little bit about that, and then we'll wrap this up.
Okay, I love public speaking. So, like Mary said, I had an Air Force ROTC scholarship and had my choice of any school I wanted to go to. And my principal was a Buckeye, and he recommended that I consider applying to Ohio State. I didn't know much about it, like some of the other out-of-state folks. And after spending just a little time there, I grew to love the traditions, and I've been a long, not quite as avid as Mary, Buckeye fan. So it's been great. That's where I met Mary, and longtime friends, like Maggie was saying. Sandy and Mary and I go way back to ROTC freshman year back in 1982. So it's a great time. I'm really proud of you girls, and look forward to you guys telling us about your great stories in the future when we do this again next year. That's all I got, Mary.
All right, guys, that's it. That's all I had on my agenda. Does anybody else have any questions for me before we conclude this? Okay. I'm going to give you an early start to have a wonderful weekend. I wish it was. Tomorrow's Wednesday. It's halfway. We're halfway there. So, all right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
All right.
Thanks, guys. I so much appreciate it. You guys, we can't do these kind of events without your help. And I know we get our small